Hi, Raf. How
Hi.
are you doing today?
Hi, Alex. Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. Thank you. Yourself?
Good too, good too. I've just relocated to the Netherlands from Cyprus, so very excited,
Oh,
Yeah, starting a new life here. So, well, the bad thing is it's still actually, it's 6 p.m. here and it's still not dark
yes. I mean, that's
because,
what's going to be.
Yeah, well, the weather is actually, everyone right now is complaining that the spring is not really happening because it's quite cold here, like around 15 degrees, and the wind is blowing quite hot. But, you know, I hope that still it's going to be better. What about you? Where are you based right now?
I've been traveling in the past couple of weeks. I was to the Baltics, and now I'm back in Poland for some time. So I'm in Poznan. I feel you for the weather. It's over here like 15 degrees as well. It was raining the entire day yesterday.
Oh,
It's not very pleasant, but it's good for work, so you can focus on work rather than thinking going on your bike or whatever. So so I feel you.
Oh, don't tell me about bikes. That's you have to be very careful here because people on bikes, they're going to basically hit you without any any additional feelings. Not feeling anything about you. So you have to be very careful here. I
Well,
was
Netherlands, yeah, apparently
Yeah,
all about bikes. I've been
apparently.
there just once, I think, to Amsterdam, but I really liked it. So I might, I pay you a visit some days,
Yeah,
one day.
if one day you plan to go to Eindhoven, that's where I'm based. Yeah, please feel free to message me.
Okay, will do.
Um, yeah, definitely. Okay, so welcome everyone to our next episode of the Search of the Week, our own very own podcast. So my name is Alex and I am your host. And during this podcast, what we are going to do, we are going to discuss what's happening right in search engine results and why this or that website outranking another one, right? And we are going to take the specific search term, right? And today it's invoice management software. And I have a pleasure to introduce our special guest, Rafal Chomsky. Am I right with pronouncing your surname?
Yes, correct.
Oh, perfect, perfect. Actually, that is thanks to my colleague Maria. She lives in Poland, so she actually instructed me. Okay, since 2011, Raf has been involved in the management in organizations related to SEO, focusing on English-speaking markets. Today, he serves as the CEO of non-agency and Husky Hamster. May I ask you why did you decide to call it non-agency, right?
Yes, very good question to start with. I'm gonna be very quick. We've been we've been running with me and my co-founder. We were involved in agencies, and we're running agencies. I was funding agencies for over 10 years. Um, and also, I discovered certain patterns within agencies when you're scaling up, when you do things as an
Mm-hmm.
agency. So we decided to do everything completely differently. And when we're having a drink, we're like, all right, what kind of business do we want to build? And we're like, definitely not an agency. So I was like, so there is non-agency like that, and then just spiraled from there. So yeah, we are offering a completely different level and different approach to problems with visibility and rankings in many countries, not only English language based countries, SERPs, but
Mm-hmm.
also many other like Germany, Nordics, or Spain.
Cool. Thank you very much
It's all
for
right.
basically for sharing additional details. It sounds very exciting. Okay, since I know that we've been, you also requested a chat with me about different countries where, in terms of choosing the best country for running your business in terms of opening a new entity, right? I
Yeah.
have a question to you. So, since most probably you've done additional research, since our last talk, Anton, may I ask you to show the image, right, with a question? So out of these countries, right, which one makes it the easiest to run a business? So we have what we have: the US, the UK, Estonia, and Poland, or maybe none of them.
Well, I'd say UK,
So
because
still
that's
UK, right?
still UK. When I was comparing Estonia and also US, it has more complexities than UK does.
Mm.
So I would vote for the UK, but I have a feeling I'm mistaken. And there's something else.
No, I mean, like maybe, who knows? But anyway, guys, if you have an opportunity to open an entity in the UK, most probably you have to give it a try. Okay, circling back to our main topic, right? About the search term that we are going to discuss, right? I have kind of a starting question, right? Well, while we are talking about the finance niche on a general note, right? And since I know you've been working with very different sectors, right? I wonder, in your opinion, what kind of verticals, so I would say, within the finance niche are the most competitive ones, in your opinion?
Well, that's a very good question again. I'm in general, obviously, finance as a global niche, as an entire niche, is very, very difficult to rank with, because there are plenty of very old established domains and entities all over the globe, especially in English internet. That's what it is. But if
Visa,
we're
Mastercard, right? Starting
yeah,
with
yeah,
those.
yes, like JP Morgan and all of that, like all the American banks and the UK based banks and so on. But when I'm
But
thinking
no
about
longer
this,
Silicon Valley is with us, right? So we can kind of, remove it. By the way,
but
do
I
you
think
know
domain
what's
still
going to
stands.
happen with their domain? It was kind of purchased by another bank, right? Which means the domain will be a part of most probably their web presence, right? I think,
Yes, I think
which
it
is
has
an
been already
interesting one.
purchased. Has been already
Mm.
purchased and repurposed. Because I was doing
Okay.
some research recently about that. Um, but other verticals, and most of them are also very, very competitive. I would say, like investment banking, right? Whatever it comes to investment banking is super your money, your life. So you definitely need to pay attention, and and you have a lot of
Insurance, right?
as well. Yes, commercial banking, brokering, like take money transfer, for instance, or
Oh,
currency
yeah.
exchange, or as mentioned in the little quiz, taxing, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that's also another vertical. So I think that there is a fierce competition in every niche in finance. However, as we're gonna start digging deeper into our main topic, we'll find that there is still a chance and a room for smaller guys to climb up.
Yeah, that is interesting. But taking into consideration, right, the current, I would say, level of competition on a general note, right?
Mhm.
Do you feel that links are among the biggest ranking factors, right, when it comes to, for sure, like if we take less competitive search terms, not really related, I would say, or kind of not so close to conversions, right? Not so money related. Most probably, it might be not so affected by links. But if we are talking about the ones, right, let's say, like very, very traditional ones, like kind of credit cards for business or something like that.
Well, I do believe, and I witness that every day. The links are still super important factor, and I think we're circling back a little bit to the more the merrier, but with focus on quality now again. I think so. Links can provide you with additional level of EAT or whatever, and how many E's now we have in it. But generally, it's when you think about authority and that kind of trust and popularity, because obviously popularity very often translates into trust. So I
And
think
into your organic flow of links, because if you're a well-known brand, right, there is kind
Mhm.
of a breaking point at some at some moment when you're kind of becoming a very well-known brand and you start actually acquiring links organically just because you are, for instance, Stripe.
For example, obviously that has to be super connected with the quality of content you have, because obviously natural link occurrence will only happen when you have a great content. But the first push needs to be done probably by outreach PR campaigns to get you to the basic level of popularity and authority. And then if the content plays well and the technical difficulties are not on your way on your site and application, then you are on a way to actually start climbing up the SERPs. And then it's very easy, I think, to get new links once you well known and you keep producing good research and good content.
Oh, you have a very good product. There might
Well,
be,
yeah.
there might be a few different scenarios. I think some websites, some businesses, they might not produce a lot of content, but they might invest heavily into their product, right? And as a result, they're getting a lot of links just because people love their product, right? They kind of at the top of their mind. Or they might have something else beside their content, because marketing activities, right? They might also create this desire, because for me the main problem when it comes to linking back to something, I can't link back to great content that I don't know. Well, there are tons of great books, there are tons of great content on the web, right? But I know what I know. And if your content basically, right, if your pages either are not supported with some great marketing activities or not supported with an email outreach campaign, right? How can I link back to this?
Yeah,
or I
correct.
can't really, or I'm not, whenever, it's also not possible to find this page on Google whenever the top and results, right? So yeah, that is one thing. And then sometimes, yes, you have a desire to link back to something just because you like it, right? It's not just about a particular page, it's just about a particular brand. It's the same actually can be translated when we do word of mouth recommendations, right? I know you, right? I really like how you do things, and I'm happy to recommend you, right? And that's exactly when it comes to links.
Yeah, I think it also happens, the kind of word of mouth in internet. It's has always been, and it will always be very, very popular way. I mean, I remember it was on forums, and now I think everything or most of it happens on social media when people recommend stuff. So shame this is not really calculated, I think, to the link profile, because some products or agencies would definitely benefit.
Just unlinked brand mentions or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Or
I
just
think
recommendations on
it's
social.
kind of, I think it's counted in some way. I think so, but not really in a direct way.
Yeah, it's quite difficult to measure that, and therefore I just assume it really doesn't play any role in that. Yeah, but you're right, definitely. Good product can defend itself. So therefore, but obviously it doesn't mean that you should not be investing in content explaining product on the market you are with, or your market you're on, because obviously you want to have additional coverage, right? So great product can defend itself.
But you can actually basically ask other people to write about you. I think, we only kind of think about this, okay, you have your own website, right? And you have to use your own website in order to promote your brand, right? But let's take a look at e-commerce brands, right? Adidas, for instance, do they have really a good blog? Do they really produce some meaningful content? I mean, like in-depth one, blah, blah, blah. No, what they do, they're utilizing actually other people, right? Influencers and so on that actually produce content about them. So, there I think, right, the way we think about it, right? Especially when it comes to the B2B niche, whenever we think, okay, you have your website, you have to put, content on your website, and then you have to, build links back to those pages. Yeah, it's obviously the right way to go, but due to the way how, I would say, from one side, how Google evaluates websites, right? And how Google gives more priority to bigger websites, right? Circling back to the competition. I feel that it might kind of, it's kind of whenever you're a very young brand, right? You might have a lot of problems, right? You're going to face a lot of problems if you're going to approach it in a very traditional way. So what I'm
Oh,
trying to say,
right.
right? Yeah. So I'm
Absolutely. It's
just
just
kind of
one,
thinking, oh yeah,
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 doing, as you called it, a traditional way. It's obviously just, you know, one section of the puzzles, right? Maybe that we could call it a foundation. And I think it's
yeah,
important to think about foundation, whatever your funding is really. Because if you're planning for a long term, you need to have your foundations right. But when you mentioned like working with influencers, actually, using others people content to promote you, well, absolutely. I mean, when I talk to investors or our clients, I always say like,
mm,
don't think that SEO in any way, shape, or form will resolve all of the issues that you have with your visibility and sales, right? You need to think a lot, a lot more beyond that. Obviously, that's important. In so many cases, the most important part of your marketing strategy, same goes for links and stuff in search, but you need to think, what else can you do? And mention influencers, other things, super important.
yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, by because we quite kind of we work with a good portion of like very young websites, I would say, right? The one that are kind of trying to enter very competitive niches. And at some point, I start thinking that maybe the way we think about it, right? Kind of build content, then try to build the kind of visibility around this content, right? Whether it's links or something like that, it just taken so much time, right, in order to actually from one side, because a lot of people, they are failing on the stage of producing content. That is a completely different story, but anyway, right, it's kind of taken so much time and effort and not necessarily leading to something meaningful. That is the problem. So
Well,
sometimes I
yes.
start to question, right, the necessity of doing that if you can actually reach way better results, right, by
But the
kind
question
of
is,
utilizing some other strategies, right?
yes, exactly. The question is, can you? I mean, when you talk to the clients, like, when we're pitching services, always try to show them um, gaps that they have in the visibility on different fronts.
Mm-hmm.
And when we produce audits on, as we call it, a discovery,
Mm-hmm.
which sometimes takes weeks, we take into account so many things. So it's all beyond SEO. And we are showing them, like, look, your competition is heavily working with influencers in a given niche or a
Mm-hmm.
given country or language. So you need to investigate that. You need to hire an agency and investigate that because it seems like it's working for them. You have a very similar product or service. It's going to work for you. So yeah, bottom line is, links are super important because it can give you authority quickly. Content is important if you're thinking long term, but there's plenty beyond that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, circling back to our main topic about the search term and voice management software, right?
Mm-hmm.
um I wonder, right, what were your initial expectations, right, about the level of difficulty around this search term, right, for this search term that we are talking about today.
Well, I was thinking like we're talking about hrefs, right? And like the keyword
Yeah, we can
difficulty.
talk about SEMrush as well, but
Yeah.
yeah, I use this time Ahrefs, but I can also open SEMrush if you prefer it.
No.
But I think,
I
things are
haven't.
quite the same, being honest. I mean, like, more or less.
Probably. Probably. Unpopular statement. I haven't been using SEMrush for a while. So, I
Okay.
might get back to that one day. I'm sticking to Ahrefs, even though it has many imperfections,
Oh yeah.
and it gives me headaches sometimes. But anyway,
Exactly.
according to Ahrefs, this has 39 keyword difficulty, which is called hard. I was expecting
Yeah.
something like that between 40 to 50,
Mm-hmm.
because from my experience, I can definitely tell that majority of finance main terms are super
Mm-hmm.
difficult, and also when measured by Ahrefs, what you can find is 60, 70 plus. So
Mm-hmm.
so that was more or less
Yeah.
within my expectations, I'd say.
Um, were you expecting to see the list of pages that we see right at the top 10 results? So maybe what kind of tools you were expected to see there, right? Um,
I'm
or
kind
that
of
is more or less, what we see versus what you were expecting is more or less on the same page.
well. I'm actually surprised we are not seeing Capterra there.
Capsera,
We
right?
have G2, but we don't have Capterra, and it's just
Mm-hmm.
okay. It's for such a popular term, probably high yield on this term when it comes to affiliate income. It's not visible, so it's definitely they're losing money there. And I also I'm also kind of surprised I'm not seeing Stripe, which has a very good features around invoice management and BI
But they
dashboards.
don't really position themselves at this tool, I think. Stripe is for processing payments.
Well, yes, but I think this is an uncovered niche for them. If they don't not really using it to get some extra traffic and some extra clients, because when you really think about it, and when I was looking into every
Mm-hmm.
particular domain that is ranking
Mm-hmm.
for the given keyword, I'm seeing that there are plenty multi-tools in finance, and this is what Stripe is actually processing, but also other tools are involved.
But I think that the way Stripe is built, right, is basically getting the money from your transactions, right? They're charging you for your
Hmm.
transactions
Yeah.
rather than giving you like FreshBooks or QuickBooks, right, and similar tools, giving you actually um, a set of functionality, right, where you can actually do some accounting stuff, including invoicing, right, but not
Hmm.
necessarily only invoicing. So I think the idea of those businesses, right, how they are kind of structured and the way they monetize is in a completely different way, because whenever you want to use Stripe, right, you have to have an entity, right, and so you basically have to go through some checks, whatever it is. But in order to start using an invoice management tool, you don't really need to go through all those checks. So I think business models, I mean, like, I agree that that might be a good idea for Stripe to explore this niche, right, because it's at the top of their funnel, right? People that might need to generate invoices, right, if they give them a free tool, for instance, right? And by the way, I think creating free tools, right, is actually one of the easiest way to generate links. So if you are capable of
Hmm.
creating free tools, right, giving people something useful, right, then it's basically almost equals to free links to improving your flow of organic links.
Yes,
Do you
if your
agree?
product is good, so
Yeah, I
then
mean,
for sure.
not necessarily what I think. I've seen so many times, and people are kind of listing free tools, and they don't even work, right? You're kind of, you have to start being featured on those listicle posts, and then it's kind of you're inheriting, kind of someone's kind of finding you on this list, true,
Hmm.
and then taking you, and so on and so forth. It works like a snowball effect. People are lazy. They don't really care about, checking each and every tool. If it was by someone listed, and the post is kind of ranking
Yeah,
well, which is
yeah,
interesting, right?
yeah. It is, of course. But if you're thinking from the mm, a person that has a tool and it's offering a freebie. So you might want to make sure that the freebie is good, because the better it is, the sooner you can start charging for it. And as you just said yourself, it's kind of easy to get on those lists to be mentioned that, hey, these
Mm-hmm.
are 20 free tools for 2020 free to do your investment or to do your invoice management
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. So yeah, that might be easy. Some good free so-called links. Um, but the better the tool, the better the operations at your startup, then the quicker you can start charging for it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. By the way, what's your opinion on being featured on listicle posts? Do you think such links available, not so available compared to some other types of link that you can get?
Well, as we used to say, any link is good, and if it's free, it's even better. But for real, it, well, I think those links, when on a good sites that can get you
Mm-hmm.
some referral traffic, are very good. Obviously, it might not give you a super leverage in SERPs, I think,
Mm-hmm.
usually, but it can give you some referral traffic, and obviously creates that kind of pillow, and you can see very nice
Mm-hmm.
natural link velocity. Yeah. So I think those links are important to have. Obviously, when you're preparing a link building campaign or outreach campaign, however you call it, you measure
Mm-hmm.
yourself against the competition. So if the competition has those links, then it's kind of natural for you to follow that suit and try to get those links for your business too. That's what I'm thinking about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so too. They are they are good to diversify your link building your backlink profile at least, right? So I think I don't really see any problem with those links. It's
Yeah.
just one more time. It's just one of type of link that you can get, but you have to get different links one more time. By the way, circling back to the top ranking pages, I have a question about G2. Let me share my screen back. Um, so just so everyone can see it, right? So I noticed something interesting over there, right? So if you look, right, that is the page I wanna ask your opinion, Raf, because I noticed that this page actually it doesn't really have a lot of even though we have 63 I'm sorry yeah, so this number around 40, right, referring domains. um, if you look at them closely, right, in terms of their quality, they are not really, only a few of them can be classified as SEO meaningful ones. So why do you think, right, G2 page, right, outranking the rest of other pages, even though if we look, right, by the, for sure, right, domain rating plays a huge role here, domain authority, but then we have actually Forbes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it has even more referring domains, right? And we can assume, right, that um, it's kind of almost three, four times more, right? And among them should be, a bigger portion of those that we can count as the ones that are moving their SEO needle, right? So what do you think?
Okay. So first, between G2 and Forbes, slightly different intent here, I think. So G2 is definitely a comparison tool or a platform or
Mm-hmm.
however you call it. Forbes is actually
Mm-hmm.
dedicated to affiliate content these days,
Yeah.
uh, which is sad, by the way, but what it is. G2, well, G2 in general, like
Mm-hmm.
if you start thinking about it,
Mm-hmm.
in term software in general, whatever the software is all
Mm-hmm.
about, they have a 500,000 of pages indexed
Yeah.
about software. Okay. And with that, not only comes a topical authority, as we all like to say, that's obvious, but also a huge level of trust. And they've been around for so many years, right? And they're providing not biased opinions, apparently. So I'm thinking this page might just got like more or less 17 to 18 referring domains with do follow attribute to this given URL, which is still quite a number just for this one URL. But generally, the entire domain is so powerful. It's been around for so many years. It has the R90. It has so many links, and it serves the intent, because what we are seeing here is mixed intent page, right? We have comparison, we have tools dedicated to invoice management. We have multi-finance tools with when you can do payment, when you can take payments. You have terminals, you have invoices, you have estimations, and CRM, ERP, and so on, so on. So I think when algorithm is given a choice, it feels, so to speak, an intent behind a query that people are typing in. I think that's why it offers G2. And obviously, probably people are clicking on G2 very, very often on this given URL, and therefore they click directly to the service providers mentioned on this particular page. So yeah, I think G2 has every right to be there, judging from the trust they have and the quality the domain is all about.
Yeah, I think so. I think also it might, because G2, they have been working quite a lot on those pages. I mean, like on the listicle pages, that are dedicated to each category. And right now, I just opened it and I haven't been checking those pages for a while. And noted that they added, for instance, filters over there, right at the top of the page, which means that basically, I think the way users also interacted, right, with this page, right, they can do something there. It's also affecting, right, the overall, I would say, importance, right, of this page, because if users are kind of staying there, right, kind of comparing things and spending enough time there, then, right, they're clicking on, moving from one page to another, right? This means that this page is a good page, right? Because users spend some time there, right? And so they do something there. And I think a behavioral, right? And that is my assumption, right? Besides, authority, which is actually, I agree, that plays a huge role here, right? And the fact that G2 is super relevant also, right, to this particular search term, and compared to Forbes is more generic, right?
Yes.
So I think that is also, playing a big role. Okay, I have. Go ahead.
Sorry, one more thing is worth to mention. Despite the huge authority G2 has, and enormous number of incoming links in history, and structure of those pages, which is really designed for users mainly, in my opinion, they also have a very well optimized page, right, for SEO. If you look on the top, you have best invoice management software as H1.
Yeah.
Exactly
In the
term you want to rank for.
year. So.
And then you have what is invoice management software. And then in the first paragraph, you have an answer. Invoice management software helps companies automate tasks related to invoice processing, right? So what I'm trying to say here is that lengthy pieces of content are less relevant unless you have an answer on top of that. And this is exactly what they're doing. They optimizing this well for Google, and they're optimizing even better for humans. So I think, again, they have a very right to be there.
Yeah. And also, I wonder about one more website, right, that I noticed that ranking quite well, even though it doesn't really have tons of authority, right, and tons of links. I want to ask about projectmanagement.com. And if you open this page, right, and let me share it, just reshare my screen, and I open this particular page. I don't really think it's either in depth enough or really available. Being honest, just from I might be wrong, but if you look at this, right, it just what that is very much it, right? And I think it doesn't even have it's kind of have table of contents over there, but it's more for SEO rather than for users, being honest, right? One more time, it's kind of solely for SEO because it doesn't really help a user like me, right? To kind of, use it because, you have it only here, then you kind of, when you scroll down, you are just kind of lost, right?
Mm-hmm.
Also, more or less the design and the UX as well is kind of very outdated, right? And it's just very basic, right? But still, right, if we circle back to search engine results, we see this page ranking quite well. So why do you think they basically were nominated by Google in some way, right? Because the number of links is kind of okay. Because there are, for instance, Zoho, right, that
Mm-hmm.
has way more links. But yeah, that is a landing page, I understand. But still it's very relevant if you're looking for an invoice management tool.
Yeah, that's a that's a very good question. Um, you see, I think again, this site is a good addition to the mix.
Mm-hmm,
Even though it might not be perfect from the user experience perspective, nor from SEO perspective, but it is
mm-hmm,
very decent and generally has a good number of links and a good history. And I haven't read the
mm-hmm,
content very well, but I think the content must answer the question.
mm-hmm.
And what we are seeing again mixed intent, and I think that's why the site is there because of its history and because of this content has been updated definitely quite recently again,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a number of links directly to this URL, and that's the reason why it's ranking. But I think it might not be for long if they don't improve the user experience on this, because basically when you on a smaller screen, when you're landing on this page, there's very little that you can see above the fold, and it's really not that user friendly as you might think. So
It is not there as well.
yes, I
I
mean
mean, I don't really know what is project management, who wrote this content and why, right? So it's kind of, some random website that is kind of talking about something. And why should I trust it, right?
well,
I would
there is
rather
an
go to
author.
Forbes.
Well, yes, yeah, probably, but there is an author, obviously, but that's just it, and you really can't find the author, anywhere beyond this website. However, though, I think this site has history, and I think history plays an important role here. And despite its flaws in content and user experience, it's ranking above some better sites when you just subjectively look at them,
Yeah,
even from the user perspective. But we might also not know something, right? We What you can uncover with Ahrefs, this is just a smaller or bigger portion
yeah,
of the actual data that goes behind it. So maybe there are other things that we just can't see. And in order actually
absolutely.
to really fully provide an answer why the hell this is ranking so high, we would need to spend some time on real analysis, probably a couple of hours, and we'll definitely find what's actually moving this site forward.
Yeah.
What's your
Well, by the way, I just want to share something, that's quite interesting, right? So whenever we are talking about this particular page, I think I see a very strong correlation between visibility trend and links. But as you can see, the recent actually update, right, quite devalued the page. You see,
Mhm.
it was kind of on the rise, so the trend was very positive. Then the update happened because some of our clients' website they have been only affected somewhere in April, so it's still in progress, I would say. So because it's kind of, as always, it's rolling out, right? not across all search engine, right, results. It's kind of, happening granularly, I would say.
Of course, everything is being rolled over time. But the correlation is that they've built quite a number of links, and then with small delay, but the organic traffic went up. But then they stopped building links, and the organic
That
traffic
is
went
interesting,
down.
right? It was on a, yeah. So I think
So
it's basically, it's kind of, these type of pages, so which is quite interesting, right? They always kind of very demanding when it comes to new links, because whenever you stop and your page is not so perfect, right, not really kind of matching, right, the industry standards, I would say, then you always will be behind the competition if you are going to stop link building activities. Am I
yes,
right in understanding this?
I mean, early assumption, but what we are seeing here, definitely we can tell that, like, the for some sites, links are still the main fuel for growth, right? And we can see here, like, when you're looking at the graphs and we're looking how the site behaves and everything, we might say, yes, I mean, this is what was driving this site. But since that, then stopped, and then obviously another update came up, um, then they started losing visibility on this. But I think still this site has a chance to get back. I mean, some front end fixes, a few extra links acquired, and they might get back to the level of visibility they
Yeah, I
had
think they're
before.
actually working, might HRFs might not really picking up those links. That might be also, so it's kind of, it might be a delay between HRFs, right, discovers, a particular link, even though
Yeah,
you might have already acquired this link and Google has already crawled this page. And if the page is actually crawled and indexed successfully with your link, the link is counted, right?
yeah.
So, there might be. Okay, so just to quickly sum this up, right? When, circling back to our current search engine result, do you think, right, links play a role here or not? And if not, right, what kind of other factors you are going to list, right, besides links?
Definitely, we can say links are playing a significant role, because when you're thinking, obviously a different role for different website again, because I think,
Yeah, for G2, it's one role. For smaller websites,
yes,
it's a completely
G2 has a
different role.
fantastic foundation behind their brand and their site, so they naturally rank up, and then they just probably naturally create 20 or so links to the new URL, and this is just happening. But for some sites, like when you can find in the top 10, like Stamply, for example, .com, which ranks second. This site is not perfect when it comes to design. It's not perfect when it comes to content, user experience, and it has fewer links. But it seems like those links are do the trick. The links that do the trick, because even though that they
Yeah,
have not many of them, they're well targeted. So and the site is not huge. So links are the tool, basically.
yes,
Or just, let's think about like a set of tools, right? And what do you have in your box, and you just need to use it wisely. So for some, you need heavy guns, heavy links, lengthy process. For some, you just need very light links, just a few, because you have the foundations right. But nevertheless, however you think about it, links are driving this. Whether someone started 5 years ago or someone started 6 months ago, the authority is still provided by links.
yeah, I agree. I mean, links are the only way to prove that your website, your business, right, is better, right? Um, if you compare your business to someone else, because links are like recommendations, right? The better websites are linking to you. Basically, this means that you are real, right? You have a real product or a service behind you, which means that obviously your pages have to run better, right? Have to get better visibility, search engine results. And if you don't really have, especially if you acquire not relevant links, for instance, right? You don't really care much about relevancy, right? Then you're building a completely wrong backlink profile that most probably doesn't help you outrank your competition, because it's kind of, if you're an apple and your backlink profile tell that you are a carrot, right? There is a mismatch. Even though you can mix them and make a juice, right? It's kind of,
It might be hard to
it's
digest.
kind of, yeah, it's kind of very hard to kind of why you have to run for all the Apple related search terms if, your backlink profile tells that you're a carrot. Yeah, that is
Absolutely. And determining links relevancy and generally profiles relevancy, that's one of the favorite topics of mine when I think about and talk about links as well. Because like your relevancy doesn't have to be happening every single time at the domain level, right? So for
on the
example,
page level as well.
on the page, on the category level, on the content level. And when you're really thinking on the foundations of internet and foundations of Google, when we really think about it, the most important relevancy is on the content level, right? When this
Yes,
content needs
absolutely.
to really talk about what you do or what you have written on your site, and that's why it's linking this site with yours. And that's a very natural way of thinking about it, right? Because this is how it was built at the beginning. Like one thing was
Yeah,
linking to one HTML document was linking to another HTML document, and it's still
just
in
because
play.
both documents are relevant to each other.
Yes, so that was a one research paper was supporting the other research paper, and this kind of behavior is still present. So the more relevancy, the better. That's why very often when I do analyze or prepare strategies for outreach for links, I don't care that much for DR, or I don't care that much for number of referring domains from the page I want link from. You know what I mean?
Mm,
So I
yeah,
rather look at what kind of content I can put at the on the page I want link from, how the content I'm gonna write for them will be corresponding with their other pages within the site, how I can interlink this content on their site to make sure that I take as much juice from the entire site to my clients or to my page, rather than just simply focusing, I want the R80 and, you know, to help with everything else. I think this approach is, is really not effective, and you can burn
mm,
a lot of money and you have less or fewer results than you would have with a very sniper strategic relevant approach. That's my opinion about it,
yeah.
really.
Thank you, Raf. Thank you for sharing.
That's okay.
Okay, I guess that is very much it for today, guys. Thank you very much, Raf, one more time for joining us, and thank you for sharing so many interesting insights, including the way you're building links and the way you're actually analyzing search engine results. It was a pure pleasure having you today. So, and let's keep in touch, and I hope to see you among our guests sometime later.
See you
So,
in
thank you very
Netherlands,
much
right?
one more time. Yeah, yeah, in Eindhoven, right?
Yes, thank you very much for invitation. It was pleasure, always pleasure talking to you. Have fun
Yeah,
in
my pleasure too.
Netherlands.
Thank you, Will. Will do.